Welcome to Kitchen Uncovered. I'm Chef Andrew Nicholson at the Culinary Institute of Canada. Today my guest chef is Adam Lowe. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Well, I'm born and raised in Prince Edward Island. I grew up here on an organic farm and got into cooking whenever I was 15 years old at a little restaurant. And the chef I was working for at the time was encouraging me to kind of go on with it in my career. So I applied to go to school in 2006 when I graduated high school, and I came right into the Culinary Institute of Canada.
Right in at high school?
Right at high school.
So what was your experience like here at the Culinary?
It was great. I got a lot of opportunities when I was coming through here. You know, I spent my 2 years here. I was really keen. I was young, worked hard, and had a lot of great opportunities. I graduated in 2008, went on to cook at a couple of restaurants, and actually came back for a continued program, the Applied Degree in Culinary Operations, which I graduated in 2011.
Right. What was the applied degree in culinary operations like?
It was great. It taught me a lot of the things I needed to know whenever I was coming back in the industry as a chef. Got to learn a lot of the management side, which was really key after spending a lot of time cooking, which was great.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. We're happy to have you. So what are we cooking today?
So today we're going to do one of my favorite recipes. It's just our crab cakes. We're going to do a pan-seared crab cakes with creme fraiche and just a fresh fennel slaw. Okay.
So great. You mentioned creme fraiche. Tell the viewers what the creme fraiche is all about.
So creme fraiche is basically it's a mixture of whole cream with just a bit of buttermilk. My ratio is about a tablespoon and a half of buttermilk with about half liter cream. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to set it at sort of a warm temperature overnight to let it thicken up. It's basically got a sour cream texture.
We're going to start with the creme fraiche?
Yes, we are. So basically what we have here is just some buttermilk. So you're going to go about a tablespoon and a half. So we're just going to pour some in here.
Kind of eyeball a little bit. We don't necessarily
it's
measure directly stuff.
Fairly close, as long as, make sure you get enough in there, I guess. I've done it a few times.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to add about half a liter of cream.
Okay. And it's got to be the high percentage cream, 18% or anything lower
Ideally.
won't work. You need to have...
That's right, because of the fat that's basically going to thicken it, which is what we need.
Okay.
And then basically all I'm going to do is we're just going to set this aside.
So we're just going to wrap that up?
Yep, just going to wrap it up.
So what temperature do you need to set this overnight? This can't be too cold or it won't...
It won't set, that's right. So ideally we want to have it at about 100 to 105 degrees. Just set it in someplace warm, if it's by your oven, if it's, even it could be inside your oven if it's warm enough. The idea is just it's got to be at a warmer temperature than room temperature.
just like proofing bread or...
That's right, just
like
like
bread rise. It's kind of the same idea.
Absolutely.
And it should sit overnight though, that's ideal, so it
sets, that's right.
Okay.
Yep, so it should come out fairly thick.
Okay, so we laid that on to set overnight. Then what do we do? What's next?
So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our potatoes on to cook for our crab cakes itself, because the important part is that they're very cold whenever we mix them. We don't want them to be warm.
Right.
So basically what I have here is just some diced up Yukon Gold potatoes here that I'm just going to add into our pot.
Mm-hmm. So Yukon Gold potatoes, is there preference in the Yukon Golds to Superiors or anything else, or just?
No, I mean I go with Yukon just because they're a little more moist, and they still hold together, which is good, and they won't really clump up too much on you, so they're really good all around for it.
Okay, a little bit more color on your cakes too, a little bit.
That's right.
With the yellow flesh potato.
Yep, and then we're going to add some cream to it.
So you're basically cooking the potatoes in the cream as opposed to normally where we steam them or boil them in water.
Exactly. Yep. And we're actually going to strain this out later, so we don't actually use all of it, but we will use most of it. So you just want to really add enough cream to cover them.
Okay, that'll add to the richness as well.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
So next thing we're going to do is just dice up. I have about one shallot here, and this can vary a little bit. My recipe is one shallot or two small shallots, and we're just going to dice this up and add it with some chopped garlic into it, just to add some aromatic flavors earlier in the stage. So. Okay,
and that'll just add a little bit extra flavor.
Right. So I'm just going to. Just has to be a quick dice here. Doesn't have to be huge.
Okay. So just consistent size, so that it's a ratio to the potatoes, and it cooks at the same time, and you get the flavor of the onion and the garlic.
Exactly.
Okay, good. So if you're using, is there an amount? We don't really know the ratio of the meat and the crab legs, because if you've got a special amount of meat in your recipe, so you'd have to, if you're using the crab legs, you kind of have to make adjustments to how much you're getting out of the
Exactly. I mean, you're going to hope that you're going to get a lot of meat out of them. Yeah. So you want to buy maybe a little extra if you're buying them in the shell, and then just sort of add them in. You can measure it all out and get what you need for the...
So is this one of the recipes you use in your restaurant?
It is, yep.
turn that on for you, get that rolling.
So we're gonna add some garlic, chop some garlic and add it into as well.
Okay.
And then
and we just add this all at the same time, let it all come up to a boil?
Exactly, yep. And you want to simmer it, you don't want to boil it. And basically it's just a quick chop. Remember that you're going to mash this in the end, so you don't have to waste a lot of time on it.
Right. And it doesn't have to be fine diced or anything, just a rough chop as long
Exactly.
as
It's going to break down as it cooks anyway,
Right.
because it's going to have a long cooking process, right, with the potatoes. So we're just going to add that right in.
Cool.
And then we're going to add our shallots in as well.
So when this is all cooked, and we're just going to cook the potatoes like normal, so we pierce them with a knife to make sure that they're done, and then we chill the whole thing, or do we strain the excess?
Well, first, you're going to want to mash it. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to let it simmer until they're really tender. They have to be quite tender because you don't want them to be any lumps. And then we're going to mash them and then just let them cool out and use them as a binder in our crab cakes.
Okay, so we'll put that on to simmer and cook, and where do we go next?
So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to break up some crab here and get our crab set. The idea is that all three of these stages of the recipes all should be done in advance. So you can do them the day before or even early in the morning before you start.
The creme fraiche needs to set. The potatoes should be cooled when we mix it up.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So that's got to be cool. The creme fraiche has to set, and the crab meat's going to have to press. So these are sort of the longer stages.
Okay.
So I'm just going to demonstrate right here, taking the meat out of the shell with the crab itself.
Okay.
Now, with snow crab, it's got a fairly, a fairly vulnerable shell that you can basically just break with your fingers.
So it's not like lobster shells where it's
Right.
tough and hard and cracking. They're a little bit softer and easier to work with.
Exactly. So I'm just going to use a pick here.
Okay.
And if you have to, if you have some shears or a knife, you can use those as well. I'm going to use these shears here just to cut up the shell. And the shell should just break right out. So just like that. And then we're going to open it up. We're going to pull out our crab meat. And, I mean, you're going to want to break it up a little bit. Remember, we're making crab cakes.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to set the bowl up here. And we're just going to break our crab meat right into on top.
You want to make sure you get the fin out of the crab meat as well, so you don't have the
Right.
crunchy bonus in your.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's the fin there. You want to take that right out.
Okay. So once we get the crab meat into the bowl, I noticed you got it in some cheesecloth. So what's the purpose of this?
So the cheesecloth is intended to help strain the liquid off because it's obviously got a lot of moisture in it, especially if you're buying a frozen piece of crab. So there's going to be a lot of excess liquid in there that we want to have. I mean, it's very crucial that we get as much of the liquid out as we can.
Okay, because you don't want moist pancakes. You want to make sure you get the drip.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then all we're going to do is we're just going to take our cheesecloth. We're just going to wrap it up.
Bundle it up.
Bundle it up here. You can see all that liquid coming
All
out.
the liquid coming out. So if you didn't have overnight, you were in a bit of a panic. Could you just press it in your hands and just kind of?
Absolutely. You can do the same thing with the cheesecloth, even without the cheesecloth if you really wanted to, and just squeeze it right out.
Right.
Because as you can see as I'm squeezing that, there's a lot of liquid in there.
Okay.
And what we actually don't want is that liquid in there because we want the flavor from the creamy potatoes and things in there for the texture, and that's
Right.
sort of the key.
Okay, that's awesome.
And then basically we're just...
So we'll tie that up and get that going. And potatoes are on. When we come right back, we're going to be doing some fennel slaw and formulating pancakes, so don't go away.
Fast-paced, close-knit.
Enlightening, hands-on,
Hands-on.
hands-on learning. It's yours, like, yeah, I made that, that was me. You want the experience, you want the passionate instructors, you want the hands-on training, you want to learn, not just from a book, but from your own hands to learn all that. It's just fantastic.
Community organizations and not-for-profit groups are invited to submit their announcements for free promotion on the Community One bulletin boards. Visit us at bellalliant.net/Community One. This is Community One, your community station.
Welcome back to Kitchen Uncovered. Today I'm with Chef Adam Lowe from Murphy's Group of Restaurants. Today we're cooking crab cakes, creme fraiche, and fennel slaw. And so far today we put the creme fraiche with the buttermilk and the heavy cream together, Adam. We've got it setting overnight so that it has a chance to set up. And in that we're looking for, when we recognize setup, we're looking at texture. What texture-wise are we
Want to be
looking at?
fairly thick, you know, probably the texture of sour cream or a little thicker is ideal.
Okay, so sour cream. Then we've got the potatoes on. So we've got Yukon Golds with some garlic and shallots. We're boiling them in cream to add the richness and the flavor. So once we get those cooked, potatoes are ready to go. So what do we do next?
All right, so we're going to strain off our potatoes here, and we're going to reserve the cream.
Okay.
So we're going to actually just take these right off here. I want them to be nice and tender, so we grab a spatula there.
We cooked them in enough cream to cover like we normally would. We're just looking for the extra richness in the potato.
That's right. So we're just going to strain this off, and then what we're going to do is we're going to mash them. So I'm just going to set that back in there. So we want to try to strain out most of that cream. A little bit's fine. I'm just going to take our KitchenAid mixture here.
Okay, so if you don't have a KitchenAid mixer, you don't have to do it this way. It's just
that's right. This is just
right?
Absolutely. I mean, you can use a masher, a ricer, whatever it is that you have in your kitchen that you can. The idea is just to get the lumps out of the potatoes.
Okay.
So actually, I'm going to keep this.
And what's a ricer? Ricer for making rice, or a ricer for?
Ricer for mashing potatoes, and you can get small ricers that are good for household too.
Okay. They're pretty much just for mashing or really fine.
Yeah, just for
pure
mashing.
air.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm just going to clip this up, and just a couple of buzzes.
So just to break up the potato, you don't want any lumps. So whatever method you decide to use is fine. You want the crab to be the main component in the cake. So
exactly. Yep.
So potatoes, garlic, shallots,
and as you can see,
cooked in cream.
As we said earlier, the dice of the shallots and the garlic is not as important, and you'll see that as we start to pour this out, that as long as they're, you know, small to a medium dice,
Okay.
rough,
They'll kind of disappear.
they'll disappear right in there.
And you just get the flavor.
And you get the flavor, which is all we want.
Okay. So that's hot right now, but we need to cool that before we get to the point of, I'll take that for you.
Okay. Exactly. So basically all we're going to do is we're just going to spread this out. And you can do this on anything that you want to put in your fridge. Ideally something flat if you're in a rush. As you can see, they're still fairly hot, so we want to cool these off.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we're just going to spread it out. And if you spread it out...
Center just so it cools a little bit faster?
Exactly. It won't take long at all.
Okay.
And we can just set that aside
Set
for
that
now.
over here.
Perfect.
So now what are we at?
So now what we're going to do is we're going to finish off our creme fraiche. So if you want to just pass me the bowl there, you can see that the consistency here of what we got, which is almost ideal.
Okay. So we set that overnight at about 105 degrees Fahrenheit?
Exactly, just up by your
warm?
stove. Yep, just by your stove or somewhere warm inside your oven if you want.
Okay.
Obviously you don't want to cook it at all, but you just want to get that nice thick texture.
Yeah.
And basically now we've already got our sauce, so we're just going to flavor it up now.
Okay.
Okay.
So what are we going to use for flavoring?
So for this recipe we have dill, capers, a little bit of lemon, and maybe a little bit of lime for citrus is all we're going to add to it. We want it to be a nice fresh taste.
Okay.
So basically what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to chop up our dill here.
Okay, and dill and capers, you're kind of going with the theme to blend in with the crab. You don't want to have it too rosemary or thyme or...
Exactly. You want a nice, light, fresh herb, and you want to layer the flavors. So dill goes really well with our seafood here. So that's essentially what our main flavor is going to be. And the capers, again, are nice and sharp, which adds some nice acidity through it, which is good because we have that creamy potato mixture that's going to be through it.
Okay, so we got some fresh dill. Now, if you don't have fresh dill, could you use dried in this recipe, or is there a preference?
Well, obviously our preference is to use fresh, but if you're going to, again, you want to use about a third the amount if you're going to use dried. Okay. Dried's very, you know, it's very potent, but also there's other products out there now that you can get that are, you know, for convenience, if you want to get some of the paste or something like that.
You could use that instead of the fresh.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we're just going to chop this up. Good thing about dill is it's quite easy to work with.
Yeah.
So we're going to add this right into our creme fraiche and then we're going to finish it off with just some capers, some chopped capers, season it up, and maybe a little bit of lemon and lime.
Okay.
So I'm just going to take this, I'm just going to add this right in.
All right. Okay, so we've got the creme fraiche, the fresh dill, and we're going to add, what do you got here, cilantro?
Yeah, the cilantro is actually going to go in our fennel slaw.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to set that aside. I'm just going to take our capers. Since we're going into the same dish with it, we'll just chop right here in the same spot as we were.
Okay.
We're going to add about... And again, with capers, I mean, you can go as thick or as thin as you like. If you like it nice and, you know, a nice and thicker sauce with some chunks through it, you can keep your capers whole. I like to dice them up just a little bit, about half. Some people like to go really fine with them.
So with those of us that don't know what capers are, what are they and what's the flavor contrast of them? What do they kind of do into the recipe?
Well, they're very acidic, which is what's really important here. You're going to cut through that, you know, you got a thick creme fraiche, which is made from cream, buttermilk, and then you've got your creamy potatoes through it. So the dill, but especially the capers are there to add the acidity, the bite to it,
Okay.
which is going to give it that nice fresh. So we're actually going to add our capers right in now.
Is there anything you could put in there instead of capers if you...
Absolutely. I mean, you could stop with the dill if you liked.
Okay. Just keep it as natural as possible.
Exactly. I mean, and it's the lemon, the lime, the acid. That's what you're really looking for here.
Okay.
So we're just gonna clean off our board here. And to finish off, for this recipe, we're just gonna add our lemon and lime. So just with a zester, and you can get these pretty much anywhere you like. Any shops really carry them, even grocery stores and things. And we're just going to zest a little bit into it. Not a whole lot. You want it to be nice and fine too, because you're not actually going to be blanching it or cooking this at all, so you don't really need much. It's just to add that. Just
add a little extra flavor.
Exactly. You're not going to want to do the whole thing. Like that's more than enough.
Okay. And would you use any lemon or lime juice in it?
Yep. We're going to cut it and add a little bit to get to the texture that we like.
Okay.
Because you can see it's fairly thick
thin it
now.
out a little bit.
Exactly. We're going to use the juice to thin it out.
Okay. So how long does this, once you get this mixed up, how long does it keep in the fridge, or how far ahead could you?
It'll last for quite a while.
Process?
I mean, you could do this a couple days in advance even, which would be good because it's going to let all the flavor set through it.
Okay.
Again, I guess the important part is making sure that your creme fraiche is done. So we're going to add just a little bit of pepper, fresh ground pepper. But you want to be very easy on the salt. Because capers are very salty as well. So we're just going to add just a pinch of salt here. And that's all we're going to really need probably.
Okay.
And then we're just going to mix this up. You can see how thick that is, which is actually not too far off the texture that I'm looking for.
Okay.
And you can go as thick or as thin as you like.
So it's literally like a sour cream almost. Is
pretty much exactly, yep.
Okay.
So I'm going to add just a little bit of lemon and a little bit of lime juice, just for the flavor. I really love lime, so I might go a little bit heavier on the lime.
And if a seed falls in, it just kind of gives it that authenticity.
Absolutely. You can do this over a strainer. If you're just at home, you can just do that. I mean,
just squeeze a lemon in there.
Just squeeze a lemon in there. That's right. And then we're just going to mix it up and set it aside. And that's going to be right
okay.
there.
So that can be done a couple of days in advance. It could be leave in your fridge. That'll last up to about how long?
It'll last for, I mean, it could last for a good 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
For the freshness of what you want it to be fresh, right? So,
right.
So we're just going to set that aside.
Okay.
I'm just going to set these down here for now.
What do we do next?
So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do up our fennel slaw. Now for fennel slaw, I do fennel slaw because I really like the flavor and I find it goes really well with this dish, but you could do anything. You could do these with just a salad or any type of, anything to accompaniment to go with it.
Okay, so we're gonna get this started. We're gonna get the fennel slaw started on the go, and when we come right back, we're gonna put it all together and have some crab cakes. So don't go away.
Fast-paced, close-knit.
Enlightening. Hands-on.
Hands-on.
Hands-on learning. It's yours. Like, yeah, I made that. That was me. You want the experience. You want the passionate instructors. You want the hands-on training. You want to learn, not just from a book, but from your own hands to learn all that. It's just fantastic.
Community organizations and not-for-profit groups are invited to submit their announcements for free promotion on the Community One bulletin boards. Visit us at bellalliant.net/community1. This is Community One, your community station.
Welcome back to Kitchen Uncovered. I'm Chef Andrew Nicholson at the Culinary Institute of Canada, here with our guest chef Adam Liu. So far we've got creme fraiche. We've got the creme fraiche mixed with some lemon and lime zest, capers, and we've got, so now we've got our potatoes made and mashed. We've got our crab meat has been draining and sit overnight, so now we're gonna put together our crab cakes and go from there.
That's right. So first thing we're gonna do, so we're going to mix up our crab meat here with our potato mixture that we already have done. It's nice and cool now. We spread it out.
Yeah.
So we're just going to take it, and as you can see, our crab, we've already drained off the excess liquid by squeezing this out. It sat overnight. So we're just going to open up this cheesecloth here.
Okay.
And
what's the importance of preheating the pan when it's dry like that? Just
so you need to have some medium to high heat on the pan in order for the crab to not stick, because we don't, actually we'll keep this.
Okay.
We don't want our crab to stick. So we're going to break up our crab here. As you can see, it's nice and dry now. We've gotten all the liquid out of it, which is really important here. So we're going to take some potatoes here.
Okay.
If you want to just spatula some in there.
Sure.
Just
You want all of it, or just a little bit at a time?
Most of it in there. I think that's,
okay.
Yeah, we'll throw it all in there.
All right.
We're good. And you may have a little bit extra, so look for your texture there. I mean, sometimes the potatoes are not, 100%.
Right.
And we're going to add in our a little bit of our cilantro here.
Okay, so cilantro, potatoes, and the crab meat.
That's right. And our parsley. A little bit of our parsley.
And this is nice and dry, so there's not a lot of extra moisture. So we want to make sure the crab meat is dry and the potatoes are well strained and mashed up.
Exactly. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix this up, and maybe you can just add a little bit of salt and pepper into this.
Sure.
So just a couple pinches of salt.
Okay.
Which is fairly good there. And then some fresh cracked pepper. That should be good. And we just want to mix it up. And as you can see, it's
pretty good crab to potato recipe ratio.
That's right. It's lots of crab, which is really important. We want that crab flavor. We're not looking for a potato cake. The potato is just in there as a binder. As you can see, it's just holding, which is about the perfect texture that you want here.
Okay. Just so it holds together when you squeeze it. And it forms a clump or a ball.
Up there, you can see that's going to hold, which is great. So what I'm going to get you to do, if you want to throw on some gloves, I'm going to get you to shape out a few crab cakes for us.
Okay.
And in the meantime,
any particular size or just whatever?
Usually I do them at about 2 to 2.5 ounces, which is just, it's equivalent to a little bit over a quarter of a cup.
Okay.
So I'm going to pass that over to you.
Thank you.
Set this aside.
So now we're going to do some fennel slaw.
Exactly.
So fennel slaw, is that like coleslaw or is it like?
It's a light slaw. Basically, it's not going to be creamy at all. We want a nice, light, flavorful, just slaw salad. As I said, you could do a mesclun green salad. You could do any type of salad you really like. So all I have here is some thinly sliced fennel, and you can use this on a mandolin if you have one at home, and if not, you can just use a nice sharp knife like this, slice it down, and you want to get some nice thin pieces there.
Okay.
Then I have what we call julienne carrots.
Okay. So what makes a julienne a julienne?
So a julienne is it's about 2 to 2.5 inches long, is the technical size, and it's basically as thin as you can possibly get with your knife.
Okay.
So again, if you have a nice sharp knife, you can simply slice it down.
So the thinness and the texture of the vegetables is key to this slaw,
absolutely,
right? So that it softens up enough. And
exactly. You want a nice thin, because they're fairly dense vegetables, so you want to have nice thin pieces, so you're not crunching away at it.
Okay.
And all I'm going to do is I'm going to add the last of those herbs that we had here earlier.
So cilantro and parsley.
That's right. And then we're going to add
carrots and fennel.
Exactly. And for our dressing, it's not even a dressing really. All we're doing is just giving a nice thin coating with our a little bit of lemon and lime, again with some acidity. So we're just going to squeeze that in there.
Okay. Again,
I'm using a strainer this time. Again, you could just squeeze into a separate bowl, add your lemon juice that way if you like. Just want a good little amount here. I have about a half a lemon here, and I'm going to do the same thing with the lime. And
Okay.
the lime, I'm not going to get
So
into.
fairly citrusy.
That's right.
Could you use any of your zest in that again, or?
Absolutely, yep. You could certainly use some more zest. If you want some extra color, maybe you want to use the zest instead of the herbs. That's totally up to you.
Okay, because that's going to add color as well.
That's right.
So this recipe crab mix, this makes a pretty good amount.
Yeah, this is a fairly good amount. And if you have some excess, again, it's something that's very easily, I mean, you can shape them, and then if you really wanted to, you could freeze them or use them over a couple of days.
All right, so the pan's getting hot there now. Should I,
We're
do I
gonna
need to flour these before we pan sear them? Because most people, when we do crab cakes, we tend to flour them as a coating.
That's right. Well, this time we're not going to have to, hopefully, because you can see how nice and dry they are.
Okay.
So we're not going to have to actually do that this time, which is nice.
All right.
So our pan's getting a little bit hot there, so I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. So again, you want about a medium to a medium-high heat here.
Okay.
Going to add some oil. And with your shaped crab cakes, we're just going to set them in and get them a nice sear. I'm just going to season up our slaw here a little bit. Just going to steal a spoon here.
The production kitchen here has got a good exhaust system, so we're okay with the smoke, right?
That's right. We're just mixing up our
Let's put
slaw
5
here.
in there for now.
Yep.
Okay. So this crab mixture, this will keep for a couple of days in the fridge if we did this kind of ahead and had it all ready.
Absolutely. And if you really wanted to, as I said, you could freeze them if you wanted to. I generally try not to, but they are freezable at home if you're making this recipe for some house guests or something in advance.
Okay.
So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to let those sear off. Again, you want to use a non-stick spatula if you're going into a non-stick pan, which is important.
Right, because you don't want to scrape the Teflon off the pan.
That's right.
Okay.
And you could finish these in the oven if you really wanted to. We're going to go right from pan here, but if you seared them off and maybe you just wanted a little bit of color, you could throw them in the oven and heat them up. You want them to be nice
Just
and
to
hot.
get them hot through. Everything's cooked
Right.
inside, so we just need to get the heat through it and,
Exactly.
and a little bit of caramelization on the outside.
That's right.
Okay.
So we're just going to let that sear off. And in the meantime, we're going to start putting our plate together because we're going to go right from the pan into our plate.
All right.
So just to kind of go over what we have here. So here's our fennel slaw, nice and finished here. You can see all the colors in there, which is what we want. Nice, vibrant slaw. It's going to be very acidic, which is good. And I'm going to actually take our creme fraiche here,
Okay.
which you can see is got that nice thick texture.
I'm just going to flip these over.
Yep. Nice thick texture that we're looking for here. And you can plate them up however you like. It depends how many people you're cooking for, how many plates you're doing. In this case, we're going to plate up, we'll plate 3 of them up just for the size that we have.
Okay.
So in this case, all I'm going to do, if you're doing this, is kind of a restaurant trick, if you will. All we're going to do is take a big spoonful of our creme fraiche here on the bottom, and we're just literally going to drag our spoon down,
Okay.
give that nice color.
Call that what? Spoon drag?
Spoon
In
drag,
business?
yeah, we'll call that, sure. And then actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, because we want some height on this here, because this is
We're
really
going to
nice.
fluff it up like a nice natural
Exactly.
slaw, right?
So we're just going to go right on our plate here like that.
Okay.
I'm actually going to put this over here. Go just a little bit more here, because we made quite a bit here. Now again, we made 6 to 8 portions here, so we have a little more than we
Right.
probably need. And then if you don't mind, I'm just going to take this. Once these should be just about done. We're just going to go right from our pan.
Okay. That's awesome. Looks great, Adam.
One in there.
Thank you very much for sharing your recipes with us today, and thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate your help. Make sure you tune in next time and check out our website for any of the recipes on today's show at kitchenuncovered.com. See you next time.